Hello, everyone. I'm Frank,
I'm Carlos.
and we're here for another episode of Shotcallers after day 3 before day 4. I think I can speak for both of us, Carlos, when I say I am kind of sick of watching a lot of these games.
Yeah, that's sums it up perfectly.
I am determined to do a show every day just because I said I was going to, but a lot of these have not been up to expectation. I think it's really shown that a lot of these teams don't have a lot of international experience, and I think it's shown that a lot of these regions have a long way to go, and that even a region that had previously been pretty good, Taiwan, is not as good as everyone thought that they were.
I agree.
So game one was YG versus KLG, and between the two games, I think YG probably looked the worst of any of the teams. Ren was probably the worst player that we saw on day 3. I thought his Renekton was decent in the early game, and he was doing good map pressure, but then he got soloed by Cho'Gath, which should not happen, and then he got picked all the time. And in the second game on his Gragas, he botched a TP initiation. He kept botching the body slam flash ultimate combos, and it was just kind of overall ineffective. I don't have a whole lot to say about the KLG game in particular, other than I thought they played slightly better and Fix was pretty good. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, the Renekton build in particular was pretty bad. Other than that, yeah, these are pretty. They were pretty weak teams.
I did like
LG just yeah, they pulled ahead. They didn't really let go of the lead.
I did like that finally junglers are actually starting to build Knight's Vow, which I know is something that you've been saying people should have been doing forever.
Yeah,
I,
that was
I'm
a little odd that it wasn't happening before.
yeah, YG got it on both their support and their jungler. I would expect more people to do it because I think we both agree that item's kind of overpowered right now.
Yeah, and it's super gold efficient, so it's like, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
It's like when we used to say Zerat Portal was like one of the most gold efficient items in the game for a long time until it got super nerfed. I think Knight's Vow is kind of in the same spot now.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I've felt very strongly about Ardent Censor for several years, but I think that was a nice thing too.
So next was Rampage versus Hong Kong Attitude. Basically, I never really felt like Rampage was in the game particularly. HKA just kind of every single time there was a team fight, they won it. Every single time there was an objective, they got it. This was kind of when I really was like, man, Rampage, they don't really have a lot of strands to pull on here, and what did they? Yeah, they only got one kill at the end, which was a fountain dive. Otherwise, it was a perfect game, which not the best. But when I was looking at this game, I did think that Mission played pretty well on Syndra, and I thought Unified was actually quite good on Zaya. I think his positioning in team fights was really good. I think he missed out on a few autos here and there, but wasn't that bad. And I just kind of felt like, in general, the team kind of had, I mean, this is like not a huge compliment considering we're talking about professional league, but I felt like they had the right idea of how to approach engagements. They protected their backliners really well. They engaged really well. The Galio follow-up was usually pretty good.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to add on this. Just a couple of things. This was the first time that I saw a good Zaya game this tournament. I think a lot of people think that Zaya is a tier 1 ADC, and I don't really feel so. I think I would put Callista, Kog'Maw, and Tristana above her, but this was the first time where I was like, okay, I can see it.
Yeah, he was really making a lot of outplays on it. There was the one play top lane where it was like the 1v1 ADC duel, and the Tristana had to use barrier and get Lulu ulted or they would have died, and that was a really sick outplay. And there was a few other pretty good plays that happened in team fights too.
Again, the analysts at the desk were really critical of Rampage's draft, but this is a matter of, like you and I have been saying, and even they've been saying, so they contradicted themselves a little bit. They're just playing their game. They're being who they are.
What did they criticize about the team comp? I'm curious.
They really hated the Soraka pick.
So I guess I
I
would ask, like, if Soraka's not good here, what comp is Soraka in, or did they just think Soraka doesn't belong in any team?
They just didn't really. They just thought it didn't work here because there was dive. I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's no comp that Soraka really works in unless she's there's no dive on the other team, I guess. But in general, Rampage, if they're just going to play their game, they're going to pick their champs. I watched the Japan finals, and there was like Heimerdingers getting picked and stuff. So
Yeah, Sarah still picks Zoe
Japan
and a
just.
bunch over there.
I mean, the point is that Japan just plays their own meta, and so they should just pick whatever they want.
Yeah, thinking like maybe Soraka's not good against divers, but you could say that about like any number of champions. You could say that against Syndra, and like they do have a pretty good tank line to defend their back line, so I don't see it as that bad. If they had like Xin Zhao Riven or something, then I would say yeah, Soraka doesn't belong in that team comp, but I don't know. I don't think that this is a particularly bad comp for Soraka. I mean, I'm against Soraka in general because she's Satan, but I don't really think there's anything wrong with this comp for her.
Draft purposes, I agree.
Alright, so the Fnatic KLG game was kind of a stomp. I didn't really notice anything like super in particular. It was just like every single time KLG would try to make a play, it wasn't even a bad play. It's like, I could see that working against like some of the other like pretty mediocre teams that are in the play-in, but Fnatic was always ready for it. They always had like one more person there. They always were just like one step ahead mechanically. As far as like the map control, they were always like one step ahead and baiting them into engagements that KLG really couldn't take. And there wasn't like one big moment that swung the game. It was basically from minute one, Fnatic was kind of always ahead and just outplayed them the whole way through.
That's right. KLG were definitely outclassed in that, which maybe was surprising to some people, myself included, because KLG looked...
Yeah, they looked pretty good against YG. And then we had HKA versus Fenerbahce, which I guess probably the closest game we've had so far. And as I was watching this game, I really thought HKA was going to win it when we were like 20 minutes in. They were ahead. Unified was playing pretty well again, and they had a pretty good team comp. But this is the second time I feel like I've seen Corki's misbuild so far in the play-in, where they completely forego armor or magic penetration and it ends up costing them when you just have an army of tanks on both sides and the only thing that matters is killing the tanks. And like the fact that he didn't go a last whisper item or a void staff item, I was watching some of the late game team fights and he was doing like basically no damage. And it's Unify just sitting there trying to destroy the entire tank line himself, and he really couldn't do that.
Yeah, bad itemization from Corki. I was not as high on this game as you were. I thought it was pretty poorly played all around. Frozen got like caught.
Frozen played
early game in that game.
Yeah, he played pretty bad in a few spots. He got caught where he shouldn't have, and he got outplayed mid lane a few times too.
And if there's ever a Baron throw in a game, it kind of brings the quality of the game down. If there were two Baron throws in a game, you're like, all right, these are just trash teams.
Yeah, also,
especially because Syndra stole one of them.
Yeah, Syndra stole one of them. Godquai didn't even smite it. That was really, really bad.
Yes, and to touch on your points, a couple of your points, HK threw their early game lead, but I also believe that had something to do with the fact that Frozen threw the early game by getting caught and getting Corki ahead. I don't know.
And then I saw something from a Reddit thread a while ago where someone said that Padden is the wild turtle of Turkey, and definitely proved that by just jumping in as stressed and getting caught.
Yeah, dude, that was pretty funny.
I was like,
my God. That was terrible, but it was pretty funny.
It was really funny. It was his only death, I think, in that whole game, but I was like, what are you doing? That was such a Zuna or turtle move.
Yeah.
But I'd say in both the games, Padden played pretty well otherwise, even though people were saying he was one of the weaker members on the team. And I actually wanted to say I thought Japone in both games was pretty good. There was a few times in the game against Rampage, the second game they played, where he like Lulu ulted to interrupt like Alistair going on the headbutt. And I'm like, wow, that's really good timing. That's actually pretty hard to do. And had some pretty good engages with Rakan in that game too. So I thought of the players on that team, him and Thaldrin probably played the best. Frozen did not look great. Syndra both times and did Syndra things. I thought Crash was pretty good for having never played with his team before. So that was kind of interesting.
Yep. Agreed.
I'm a little surprised that Fenerbahce was the team that went 2-0 from this group.
I thought that they were the favorites in this group going in. And I thought that losing the jungler would be a really big setback for them, but clearly it wasn't. I think that they're a pretty solid team all around, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go 4-0.
Yeah, now definitely so. I think the only thing that might give them trouble is the HKA rematch, but we'll see that tonight. Fnatic did have a little bit of trouble against Young Glory. Young Glory actually did manage to take their mid inhibitor, which was a little surprising, but Null just completely destroyed Caps. Caps got solo killed in lane at level 7, and then Caps kept trying to do these like cheeky outplays in the side lanes where Null was just holding off his split push, and he kept getting himself killed over and over again. I'd say like everyone else on Fnatic played that game pretty well, so I was kind of had a bad game, but I thought Jez's and Reckless and Broxa all played pretty well. But Caps like almost completely threw the game away when he got caught top lane. Then YG just went down, took an inhibitor. They couldn't get more than that, but like right before like one of the really long pauses, they were pushing the top inhibitor, and if they managed to win that fight, then they could have won the game.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it looked pretty solid. I was a little surprised at how competitive this game was. You know, you pointed out some good rotations at the end of the game that Fnatic did, and I think that's right. Also, I think one thing that you pointed out that I agree with is that the Ren, the Gragas guy, he played really badly. He actually really cost them the game because
he did,
at one point they were pushing to end, they being Young Glory, they were pushing to end the game, and they might have been able to do it if they focused on who they were going to attack in the team fight, but whatever, it was ambitious.
Yeah.
It was an ambitious attempt. At the very least, they got the inhibitor, and then they somehow none of them died, which surprised me. So I was like, okay, that was really good by Young Glory. I think they could have maybe, if they played correctly, ended the game, or played like really well, ended the game. But whatever, no one died, so they can escape, and the game's not going to end. And so they all left as 5, and then for some reason the Gragas just went top lane, and he ended up getting caught eventually. And that's what ended the game. That's what cost them.
Yeah, he also had a really bad TP home guard flank where he actually body slammed Reckless, but then ulted him the wrong direction, and Reckless didn't even flash. Like,
he didn't have
because he didn't have flash. Yeah, and I'm like, how can you possibly mess that up? If he gets Reckless there, they just win on the spot. So If he would have been a better player, they probably win that game, and Fnatic is 1-1, and then we have like a 3-way tie in that group. But yeah, like it was one of those things where it's one of these teams that actually did a good job of playing their game plan and just playing around the fact that their mid laner got huge, and then just kind of blew it down the stretch. Like to use a meme, you just hate to see that happen. We're going into the games tonight. Who is on upset alert? Who do you think gets through?
I don't know who I think gets through, but I'm going to throw out some curveballs. So I guess the RPG Rampage Fenerbahce game, there isn't much to talk about there.
Not really, no.
But that's why we're sort of moving on. I'm going to throw out a couple of surprises, maybe. I think I already said I think Fenerbahce will go 4-0, maybe, which perhaps isn't a surprise at this point. But I'm going to go ahead and call the Young Glory 2-0 today. I think they're going to win both their games today. Yeah. I think they're all right. I think, relative to their group, they're pretty good. I think that they can win the 2 games. There were some minor throws here and there. So I think if you just keep putting that Ren guy on tanks and just hope that he doesn't fuck up, that they'll be okay. As for getting out of groups, I mean, I don't know what sort of scenario that creates.
That would be potentially some tiebreakers depending on what happens.
Yeah, it'll make some tiebreakers. Yeah, it'll make some tiebreakers for sure. I don't know how that looks.
If I was gonna power rank this game, like Fnatic to me looked like the best team of these, but Fenerbahce really impressed me too. And even though Padden made that one really bad mistake on Trist, he then got a pentakill in the second game and played a really good Kog'Maw. And I know people were saying they didn't think he was that good, but he looked pretty good to me. I think I agree with you that they'll probably go 4-0 as long as like Frozen doesn't make any huge throws, because the other guys, like I think Thaldrin and Japone were like really consistent and did exactly what you expect out of like supportive champions at support and top. I don't know, like Fnatic did almost let a game get away with them, but they also just completely put KLG in the dumpster, and I thought KLG had played really good against YG. So I'm a little up in the air on who gets through actually, but if I was like gun to my head, I think Fnatic and Fenerbahce probably both win their groups. I think HKA probably is the other team that makes it out of Fenerbahce's group, because I don't think Rampage looked very good. And then I think KLG was the better one from looking at YG today, but I don't think YG played particularly badly, and KLG also had a closer game against Fnatic. YG had a closer game against Fnatic than KLG did. So
I think so one other thing I'll throw out there, not pertaining to the games, but I anticipate very soon. First of all, I'm surprised that it's Syndra that's getting picked, because I thought it would be Karma. And I think people are going to make that switch, because what we're seeing is that Karma's good in the early mid game, but she just gets outscaled because you can build MR and all that. So Karma ostensibly purpose as Syndra at this current point in time in the meta, which is like early burst. But she's going to bring a lot more utility in the mid-late game. And also, like a lot of people have been talking about the double Ardent sensor. And that's something that you can do with Karma. It might not be optimal, but, you could do something like Morello, Ludens, and then Ardent sensor. And that would be pretty strong.
So if you do that, like, do you just like pick a harder ADC carry, or where do you get the damage? Where do you make up the damage? Like, do you just say, all right, well, we're just playing like Caitlyn or like Sivir or something that's just going to do gross damage hyper late?
I mean, the champs that are being played right now are hyper late game champions.
Well, yeah.
Like Karma does a fair amount of damage.
Yeah, Karma
does a fair amount.
Especially when you get Leandries later in the game, then she is able to put out a lot.
I think my point, maybe I didn't do a good job explaining it, is that Syndra is a burst champion, right? But what we're seeing is that as you get to like the 30-minute mark, she's not useful because everyone builds MR.
Right, yeah.
It's not going to change if you bring Karma in.
Yeah, that's
Karma's
true.
going to be bursty in the early game, but she's going to bring a lot of utility in the mid-late game that Syndra doesn't have. So basically what I'm saying is, like, in this current meta, Karma is a better version of Syndra. So I don't understand why people are picking Karma.
You're actually also, that actually reminds me of something. You see a lot of mid laners building Merc Treads because there's so much Syndra. So yeah, like, there was actually one game where an Orianna built both Merc Treads and a Banshee's Veil. Like, Banshee's Veil is their second item.
And a Haunting Guise. Like, it's literally unkillable.
Yeah, like they
the
full
Orianna
combo.
was literally unkillable.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone playing Orianna against Syndra, and they got full comboed and dove, and she like just barely lived, and the dive went really, really badly.
The game really turned there.
Yeah. It was Plugo against Null. Yeah, they tried to dive Plugo, and he just barely got away because of the Banshee's Veil plus Haunting Guise plus Merc Treads. Yeah, so I actually think that's a good point.
So, yeah, maybe these teams aren't good enough to realize that, or I don't know, maybe their coaches aren't good enough, but I really expect it to shift from Syndra to Karma when we get to the real teams.
All right.
I still don't understand why it's not happening. Right. But the Syndra, if you don't win early, it's not gonna be able to.
Yeah, we'll see if that changes in the next few days. But thank you guys for listening. I think that's about it for us.
Tomorrow will be fun because we're gonna do maybe we'll do a short recap, but then we can start talking about the best of fives.
Best of fives.
So
that'll be a better show, and we'll be able to do a little bit more previewing. But for now, I'm Frank.
I'm Carlos.
And we're Shotcallers. See you guys tomorrow.